Welcome to Wisdom Talk Radio, a collaborative community of explorers in conscious living. Welcome to today's episode of Wisdom Talk Radio. This is where we explore the depths of conscious living and what it truly means to live an expanded life. Join us to be inspired and encouraged and perhaps transformed, and to tap into a deeper level of joy and possibility. Because I feel like that's so needed. It's always needed, but it feels like it's needed right now even more than ever. So think about this. As we go through life, and certainly as we look backwards, we notice that there are different stages that we traverse in life. Whether we call them by name, whether we give them any title, doesn't really matter. But each of the stages that we go through in life have value. And there are different things that we experience, different things that we learn from and in each stage of our own life. And as our remembrance deepens of who we fully and truly are, we find more of ourselves that we can claim, more of our unique wholeness. My guest today absolutely shines a spotlight on this kind of emerging remembrance. So please stay tuned for what will be a very special episode. I have no doubt. I'm Laurie Seymour, host of Wisdom Talk Radio and CEO and founder of the Baca Institute, home of the quantum connection process. Why quantum connection? It's because each of us are truly designed to connect with the universe in our own unique way. And yet there are archetypal styles of that we can understand to understand ourselves more directly, more fully, for how we connect directly with the universe. And being able to do that is really our secret, the secret to creating what we want in life. Because who you are is who is needed. So my guest today is an old friend, someone that I've just recently reconnected with. It's been, I don't even remember how long ago we first met. And this is Joan Advent. She is a feminine mystic and spiritual leadership mentor with more than 30 years of experience as a psychotherapist, spiritual teacher, and transformational guide. You know, we could look in the mirror at each other, Joan. She provides wise counsel, practical guidance, and clear reflections for visionaries, creatives, and innovators ready to move beyond the pressure of having to figure it out, get it just right, or to carry it all on their own. She is the creator and host of the Crone Codes podcast and the Trust Your Sacred Feminine Flow podcast. Welcome, Joan. It's so special to be with you and to see you here.
Oh, thank you, Laurie. I feel the same way. I feel delighted and honored. It's like seeing an old friend that you haven't seen in years, and just that heart smile and presence. I'm so grateful and honored to be here. Thank you.
You are welcome. So where do we start? Where should we start? I'm going to start with something that I would not have thought to ask you. And yet it was in one of the questions you sent to me. And I thought, well, I'm not going to ask that. But here I am, I'm going to start with it. Because when we first met years ago, I knew you as Joni Advent Mayer. Okay. So if I ever say Joni, by the way, in this, please forgive me and know that it's just this old pattern coming in. But you've obviously changed your name in several ways, but it feels like it has a deeper significance and meaning. So what is that about?
Thank you. Thanks for the the chance to speak to that. And I am going to name that my sweet little dog Molly is here with me, and she may end up in my lap before it's over. So,
Great.
but
And
should
she's
you?
adorable, so that's okay.
Yeah. So my given name is Joan Advent, Joan Renee Advent initially, and I had kept my name after being married. And so many people knew me, although I have gone by Joni as a kind of a more familiar,
Mm.
uh, name of, you know what I'm trying to
Yes.
say.
Yeah, it's an easy kind of.
Yes, Joan and Joni, I grew up being called.
Mhm.
And when my daughter was born, which was 21 years ago, a few years into her life, she and my husband were mahers. And at that time, I was feeling more identified with them as family than my birth family. And
Mhm.
so I had opted to take my husband's last name, Maher, and that was 14 years into our marriage.
Mm.
So
That's a statement.
it is. And as an afterthought, I thought, well, let me keep the Advent for my middle name.
Hmm.
And so that was my name. And Joni was a name, the Joni was a name that I claimed as a maiden. You were talking about the stages
Mm.
of life that we go through. And my given name was Joan, and I wanted to individuate myself, assert myself, carve out my own identity. And so I chose Joni, spelled Joni, as my name. And for a long time, that's how I wanted to be known. And it's probably been maybe 6 years ago at this point, I happened to run across a woman, just as we do if we're in, whether it's
Mm.
trainings or communities, and you meet people who do all sorts of things.
Mhm.
And she happened to be like a name alchemist.
Ooh.
And I had reached out to her related to an offering, like how to name a specific offering. But she said something about my name and offered to do this reading for me based on this name. And I'm not even going to pretend to explain to you the
It's okay.
technology she uses, something
Hmm.
with the Kabbalah and symbols
Uh-huh.
related to your name. And the long and the short of it is she asked me how attached I was to my name.
Mm.
And she said, the thing is your name, as you have it right now, Joni Advent Maher, is coded for challenge and for hardship and for
Wow.
difficulty.
Hmm. Okay.
And I looked at my life, I looked back on my life in terms of those years that that was my name.
Hmm.
And there was quite a bit of Sisyphus pushing the rock up the
Hmm.
hill kind of thing. And it was so fascinating because I thought, how am I going to have a conversation with my husband about this? I want it. I don't want it.
Make up your mind already.
Right. And I kid you not, I come out of that experience, I come into the kitchen, he's standing there, and the words out of his mouth are something to the effect of names matter. And if you're going to change your name, I mean, I hadn't said a word to him. And it was one of those moments where it's like, okay, spirit, I guess we're having this conversation right now.
Mhm.
And it was related to one of my daughter's friends who was now going by a different name. And he was, having feelings about that. And I said, well, it's interesting you should say that. I've just met with this person and they've been giving me this information about my name. And he said very honestly, I've never been, I never was very attached to you needing to take my name,
Hmm.
which felt like a huge relief.
Yeah.
And then there was this kind of spaciousness of, well, what name do do I want to take?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was this open door. And I will cut the long story short to say that that summer I ended up going back to my hometown a few times and realized so the name Joan, which I have always had a close connection with my patron saint, Joan of Arc.
Hmm.
The name Joan came to me through my mother line. It was my mother had a cousin named Joan that she loved.
Hmm.
And Advent, of course, came to me through my father line because
Hmm.
that was the family's name. And since then, and I decided, so ultimately I decided to return to Joan Advent
Yeah.
and to remove the middle name altogether and to have just like spaciousness be,
Mm.
be my middle name. But I came to find out even more recently. So I've been studying with a Hawaiian indigenous and Mu elder teacher.
Hmm.
And in the Hawaiian tradition, your name frequently is it's like the codes to your whole life trajectory are held in your name. And so I dug a little deeper and I always knew that Advent was a sacred name. I grew up with an Advent wreath every year and knew that it was related to the coming or the arrival. And when I investigated Joan, it was equally as potent and as powerful in terms
Hmm.
of being rooted in um, the graciousness of God,
Hmm.
of being a kind of being in good favor of God, or even of being like this tower, this tower or this light.
Hmm.
And I've come to appreciate not only my own name, but the way that names can really be another way to whether it's root or ground our authority or our
Hmm.
just our spiritual mission, so to
Hmm.
speak.
Hmm. Yeah, very much so. I changed my name a long time ago. There was a name that came through,
Hmm.
and it was just like that. And I had never felt very attached to or connected with my birth name.
Yeah.
And it was like, and it wasn't my husband's name. I'd never really
Right.
taken his name. So here it was. It was like, okay, this is what I'm to do.
Right.
Voila.
It's like consecrating yourself in a
Hmm.
way.
Hmm. That's a beautiful way to say it. It is like consecrating yourself. Yes. Yeah. And when we get to do it as an adult,
Mhm.
to really decide this is my name, there's something very powerful about that.
Yes, yes, because what I learned from the woman who did the reading is that whole issue of the resonance, the
Right.
the energetic resonance, not just of the words, but of the
The
whole.
numerology, yeah,
Yeah,
everything has that frequency.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's time for Molly to join us. She she's made it known. It's lap time.
It's lap time. It's okay.
Yeah,
She may have something she wants to speak to.
she may well.
So I want to take us into the Crone codes because this feels like because I've seen an expanse of you and your work, even if I haven't been, following it step by step. but this feels like something you have both stepped into and received. And
Hmm. Yeah, I love
that's
that.
potent.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
before we talk about like what some of the details or the deeper essences, what are the Crone codes?
So let me know if Molly becomes a sound
Okay,
issue.
can't hear
Um,
at all.
okay. So the Crone codes, as I have received it is whether it's the activations, the initiations, the latent seeds within us
Mhm.
that become germinated, come into fruition, really throughout the whole arc of our feminine journey. So it's not like a threshold that we cross at a certain age. It
Mhm.
is as we're living as conscious women and going through all the ways that we grow and evolve and change and blossom. In my experience, we are gathering crone codes so that when we reach the
Mm.
stage of the crone, we are an embodiment of the fullness of who we are and the fullness of the feminine journey. And it feels important to me to really be naming this because when I reached the dawn of 60, and actually it was a younger woman who I was working with who was kind of conferring on me that you're stepping into cronehood. And I was having a little bit of a like allergic resistant.
Was it the word itself, the naming of that?
It was. And I looked into that word straight away
Mm-hmm.
because I had been with other colleagues and friends who had crossed that threshold and was always a little bit like, uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's something I don't quite want to embrace. So I Googled it. And of course, the Google definition was an ugly, an old, and an evil looking woman.
Ooh, okay.
Like, where does that come from?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know where it comes from, but that just felt like a kick in the stomach
Mm-hmm.
and it made me angry.
Two
As,
good things to get you
as
going.
as I'm known to do. And I just felt as many times I have had a reaction similar to that when I have seen the denigration of the most sacred aspects of our feminine nature or the feminine aspect of creation. I have been known to get angry and outraged, and it's like, I'm going to reclaim this from this cultural trash heap. I'm going to go out there and be a presence that says nothing could be further from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, there were layers of of then having to heal around that. And I can feel it as I bring it up with people that that's the podcast. It's a little bit of like, well, what is this about?
Mm-hmm. I don't want to think of myself as a crone. And yeah, I don't. I mean, from that original, no, not that original, from that Google definition.
Yes, and so many of women our age, will say, are embracing like the queen archetype.
Hmm.
Sorry, Molly is moving the computer. And I think eh, as I was processing my feelings about the crone, I was like, there's so many other more sexy and cool names. Like I'm
Hmm.
a shaman, I'm a medicine woman, I'm a mystic, I'm a healer, I'm a priestess, all names that many women are embracing these
Hmm.
days.
Hmm.
And I don't, oh, sorry.
No, no, she's fine. Don't worry
Okay.
about it. She's just
She,
absolutely fine.
she's licking the, the,
Oh, hi. Oh, God, she's so cute. So, I mean, grandmother is another one, or elder, like
yeah,
elder of the
yeah,
tribe. But,
yes.
and that's interesting. I'm reflecting on that because I became a grandmother for the first time about 2.5 years ago. Now I'm a grandmother twice over. Um, and what it took me into, which was something very different in myself than I had before been tapped into.
Yes, and really, as we're sitting here talking, and I'm thinking about just our discussion about the name and the naming, and what are the names or the mantles, the
Mm,
titles that we take, and what is the resonance of those? What are the true frequencies for us or reflections for us? And I know,
mhm.
I know these days, so many women are choosing other names beyond grandma or grandma. What are you going?
Right,
You
right.
told me what, remind me what you're going by.
Oh, I don't know that I told you. Actually, for me, it was easier because in Yiddish, it's Bubby.
Bobby.
And
Yeah.
so I grew up with my Bubby, and now I'm Bubby, and I'm the only one because nobody else is, has that name in the extended family, and I love that.
Yes. And I love that that has those roots. And I have no hard feelings for anyone choosing a specific name, but I think it just speaks to this both sensitivity we have to either taking on something that doesn't honor who we really are,
Mm. Hmm.
and or this unconscious programming of negative associations of
Hmm. Hmm.
certain things, certain words,
Yes.
certain titles.
Yeah. So I want to go back to go a little deeper into something you said about the codes, that that the
Mhm.
crone is not what you a threshold we cross over. And that's what I would have thought. Oh, okay, whether it's never a year, it can be an accumulation of moments, but the crone codes is really speaking to something far more than that.
Yes, and you alluded to or you spoke to earlier, just as we grow into our wholeness.
Hmm.
And for me, the Crone codes are those qualities or those activations or those frequencies
Hmm.
that bring each of us individually into our wholeness. So it's not like
Mm.
there's a list of 100 that you check the boxes and then you're a crone.
Hmm.
It's not like that because of course it's a personalized journey for each of us. But it is it feels important that in my experience, it's like Crone is a frequency. It's a frequency that we inhabit, and so there are codes associated with that. And there are certain things you do need to have a degree of maturity and wisdom and groundedness in some of those basics, but beyond that there can be a whole range of codes that come in depending. So part of what the podcast is focused on is let's examine what some of the common codes are that
Mm.
we as women touch on or are meant to be initiated into at each stage of our journey.
Hmm. Wow. I'm feeling into that because what is happening for me as I even just hear your words,
Mhm.
um, I really am feeling the remembrance. I saw that in something you had written about, and you had used, I think, the same word. And because it's a word that means a lot to me, I took note of that. but I'm actually feeling the energy of that, that the codes are a kind of reclaiming. But more than that, they're even more than that. Hmm, they're a remembrance of those unique parts of our own feminine experience.
Mhm. Yes, where we as a soul meet living as a gendered woman
Hmm.
and at this time,
Okay, okay.
at this particular time in history.
Yeah.
And that of course will touch into whether it's the ancestral pieces like you were naming
Mhm.
sorry, she's about to jump on. You were naming regarding just the bubby and
Hmm.
becoming a bubby, um,
Hmm.
as well as like our soul history of
Yeah.
what are the reawakenings or remembrances from past.
Sweet soft tail in your face.
She's trying to get down, and there's a, sorry, I need to, okay. Now you can get down. There you go. Now we,
So, there's something about the importance of all of that in this particular time. And I'm wondering how you're seeing that, how you're experiencing that.
well, I will say that, so the podcast was probably about 9 months in the inspiration conception
Hmm.
before I really, well, and part of it was the building it out, but so many incidences that have occurred in the larger collective, whether it was in communities that were previously seen as spiritual and supportive and, going to be we'll say, part of the solution, for lack of a better way to say it, as well as just the general population and the
Hmm.
general culture of what's happening. So many times there were just flagrant is the word that comes to mind, like flagrant disregard for whether it's our humanity, whether it's our conscientiousness or being like good citizens of
Hmm.
humanity. Like,
Hmm.
we are all in this together, so to speak. And
There is no us and them.
right, like the bad behavior, and I just could feel the place of like, you just cannot not do this. We need the voices of
Mm,
clear elders, and in particular female elders, because there is
mhm.
a lack of that.
Yeah.
And it's just like whether it's the elder in the tribe that can look at the group or an individual and say, wake up or snap out of it, or let me show you a reflection of what's happening
Hmm.
within you, how you're getting off path. We need that. And so I felt this deep calling to bring in those voices, to bring in those voices of wisdom, of clarity, of maturity, of some semblance of an arc of life experience.
Mm. Hmm. Hmm. Something that offers the potential and the possibility for people being able to truly see, to have the veils removed.
Yes, yes. Or to uh, just recognize that they're okay, like who they are is okay, to unplug from the noise and
Mhm.
unplug from the crazy and the chaos that may seem to be unfolding.
Yeah.
You're okay, and you can come back to the
Mhm.
truth that lives in here. You can
Yeah.
come back to, like your book, you can connect to source. You
Mm-hmm.
just the remembrance of that, the reminder of that, and the just having lived through just all the things that we have lived through. And even I have an aunt who's about to be 95 next month, and and she's still vibrant and clear and healthy and an inspiration. But I think about all of the things she has lived through,
Mm.
living through a world war and whatnot. And it does give us a unique wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It feels like you are calling. I was going to say you're creating, but it's like you're calling together a grandmother's council.
Mhm. Yes, and I am also calling to, it's like, hello, you who thinks maybe you don't have a contribution to make because culture says we don't need you
Mm.
or we need
Mm-hmm.
you to babysit the kids, but that's it. I'm also issuing the call because most of us are still, we've been indoctrinated into
Mm-hmm.
whether it's you've looked up the definition of Crone or not, it's still in the water. It's in
Mm-hmm.
the water
Mm-hmm.
we're drinking of
Yes.
that values youth, that values beauty, that values yeah, just us staying in our place, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So encouraging whether it's the late bloomers or the people who are ready to reinvent and be just be a presence. Part of the whole
Yeah.
way that I close is acknowledging the ripples that we make. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we're making big waves in the world, but to own that, to own you are leaving an imprint. You have,
Mm.
just like you, I've heard you say, we need you to
Right.
those who are listening. And
Yes.
yeah, and I'm
Yes.
saying we need you, you matter, and you are already having an impact. So let's make it be a conscious impact.
Mm. I love what you were just alluding to around late bloomers or people, women in particular, but people I'd say in both, both men
Mhm.
and women, um, who feel like they never quite kicked off the sharing of their wisdom. The leaders, you call them reluctant leaders, the people who are saying, well, I could do that. I see there's a need, but is it really me? Should I step up? Should I step in?
Mhm.
In some way, you are really calling that forth.
I am. I would say I am a champion for that population. And in some ways, I do relate to that population.
Hmm.
There's more that has felt like has been meant to come through me. And when you knew me, and which was when some of those challenges were happening, I was very intensively in the supportive wife and mother role.
Hmm.
And my husband had a very high profile career and was an innovator in his work. And I was championing him in doing it because I fully believed in that.
Hmm.
My daughter had special needs from a health standpoint and then some mental health things along the way. So it really, there was a lot of pouring into
Hmm.
those aspects of life, which I don't regret at all. And I could always feel that there's something that's gelling that hasn't quite come to
Yeah.
fruition yet.
Yeah.
So,
I think of that and call it the moreness.
the moreness, yeah.
That recognition that there is more. I felt it growing up from a very early age that there was more, but I had no idea how to tap into it. If it was true, was this
Mhm.
just an illusion? And that I still see so many people get caught into that level of questioning of themselves. Yeah, I have this great idea, but really, can I do it? Really, do I have to do this on my own? Oh, I don't want to do it on my own. If I don't do, what, all of those kinds of self-questioning and self-doubting kinds of inner cycles. And it's so important to have somebody like you, Joan, who is saying, hey, yes, I see you. I recognize you. Let's get on with it.
Yes. Yes. And there is, I will acknowledge, and I know you know this as well, that any of those creations or those visions that we feel called to are called to cultivate aspects of us that haven't fully developed yet.
Mm,
So there is that change or that shift that we would go through, and whether it's the comfort of what's familiar or this is how people relate to me or whatever the case may be, that there is a stepping beyond for the moreness.
right, right. And sometimes it's around visibility. Am I willing to allow myself to be seen?
Yes.
And that's a whole other aspect of this, but I find it particularly a compelling one for women who, particularly at a later stage, well, Crohn's should not be, seen. And there's Joan saying, "Oh yeah."
Right. That's when really the world needs us most
Mm,
to be seen.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And yes, not to be like in your face, so to speak, or performative, but to be just the resonance and that tower or that beacon
mm,
of whether it's sanity, whether it's fun and lightness of being, like the
mm,
don't take things so seriously, whether it's the reflections of who you genuinely are.
mm-hmm.
It's we it's needed. It's needed.
It's needed. It's needed if we just have to look around and if we respond to the need instead of getting caught in our self-doubt, I think that can help that transition happen much more smoothly.
Yes. And I will say, one of the things I've realized, particularly as I was bringing this podcast to fruition, is I have found that that doubt piece in my experience is really tied to a code that if it were a perfect world, if we were being raised in optimal ways, would have been addressed as maidens, as young women.
Huh.
In fact, I will say this Hawaiian elder that I've been working with teaches about from that cultural perspective. They have a process where you claim who you are. Like it's not even that the tribe is reflecting who you are claiming who you are. And then the
Oof.
tribe is there to both thank you and to help hold you in that resonance.
Wow. Wow.
And so if you think about it in days where there were supportive cultural communities or tribes,
Mm-hmm.
you would have those reflections of these are your gifts. This is how you give to the whole in a way.
Mm-hmm.
There would be that reciprocity and we I dare say I didn't have that.
Right.
So we're reclaiming those codes really which could have been optimally accessed in maidenhood
Mm-hmm.
much later on.
Wow. There's something about that that feels so profound and I'm wondering if you've given any thought, and particularly being a mother of a daughter like I am, to how we might bring that back into our culture for the maidens.
Yes. Well, certainly there are many groups of women, and I did my own version of this when my daughter was coming of age, who are focusing more on that coming of age
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
period and time and really honoring and acknowledging that.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it is in part like being, whether it's an official grandmother or an official auntie or an official mother of a female daughter, but to be a presence in a young girl's life.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's, a grandchild of a family friend or just being someone who is reflecting, like, I see who you are
Yes.
beyond the outer package, or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just to provide that, I think is just a basic, simple way we can do it. And there certainly are various groups. I have a dear sister and colleague who's based in Ontario, and they're having these incredible, she lives on a farm a couple hours from Toronto. They're having these incredible gatherings of women, of crones and mothers, and now maidens and even girls. So, and I'm hearing more of those kind of things happening, and
Ah,
it just makes my heart sing.
absolutely. Yeah.
So there are people doing that kind of thing, but also just being in someone's life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As a force of wisdom.
Yes, as a force of wisdom and as a mirror of, I see the beauty, beauty, your inner gifts, who you
Mm-hmm.
are, and what's possible for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Joan, how can people find out more about the Crone codes, about you, about what you're up to and what you're going to be up to? Because I feel like this is, I don't know, I feel like this is the start of something. I feel like you're at that. It's not like it's the beginning of your work by any means, but that you're initiating something new, or you're being initiated into something new.
Yes, I'm going to go back to the word consecrated. I do believe I'm being consecrated. And frankly, in a way, I feel like this is what everything has been leading to in terms of all the various courses of, whether it's study or development or the kind of work I've done with the past in the past
Mm,
to culminate in, I am going to use the word wise woman or crone,
mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm.
be a crone, to be a wise woman, and to have that umbrella. So the way that they can find me is through my name,
We know your name.
joanadvent.com. Yes. And of course, the Crone Codes is available wherever you get your podcasts. So certainly Apple, certainly Spotify, and on Substack, I have the podcast is housed there. I also do some writings because I don't know what it's like for you, but as soon as I finish recording something, I get all kinds of downloads.
Yes.
So I have decided that I'm writing those downloads down
Excellent.
in
For
the
all of
afternoon.
us.
Yes, for everyone. And I do have bonus content that's available for people to go deeper into the Crone Code. So all that lives on Substack. But if you look up my name, Joan Advent, you will find me.
We want to find you. We want to have you and keep you and celebrate all of what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been so fun.
It has. It has. And I feel like I'm just saying, okay, no, we need to stop because we could keep going.
I know.
Mm, thank you, Joan Advent, for being such a shining light.
Thank you, Laurie, for being the same and such a
Mm,
source of wisdom and truth and providing this opportunity.
mm.
Very grateful.
And I want to thank our audience for being with us today, too. Without you, who would we be? Why would we be doing this? But thank you for being here at Wisdom Talk Radio. Remember that you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We are on YouTube. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, because that's what helps this grow. It's what helps this kind of transformational wisdom grow. If it just stays just right here in this little, square, Zoom square that I'm looking at, that's not enough, because we really are about transformation. I mean, in the big sense of the word. And so leave us a review, share it, all of that. And for more for yourself about how to thrive with your own quantum connection with the universe, take the quantum connection quiz over at the bacainstitute.com, because that'll give you just a piece of something else. And then go and pick up your own copy of Unconditional Remembrance, Your Connection to Source, wherever you find your own books, local bookstore, and all the online places to buy it. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us here at Wisdom Talk Radio. We wish you well in your conscious explorations. For more information and to join in the conversation, our website is wisdomtalkradio.com or at Wisdom Talk Radio on Facebook.